Event is starting and we're live. Hey guys, you're watching Tech Radar. My name is Basil. This is the Huawei Mate 10 Pro. This is the Mate 10. This is a live comparison between both of these phones. So the Mate 10 and Mate 10 Pro were announced in Munich last week, Monday. We were there and they came like really close instantly to being some of the best phones we've ever seen in our lives. Glass front, glass back across both, and you've got a really slick design with a metal frame. There's also some really nice value adds across both. You get a case in the box, you get an onboard screen protector pre-installed, just nice touches. But at the heart of it, are these really nice phones to use a week in? We've got a whole bunch of people in the chat room already. So we've got PVH, I'll answer your question shortly, but thank you for firing in there. We've got Tham Wilson, Jebi Dabsi, Pele, hey Pele, Eddie Kanyawan, Isaac 8675, Derek Yeha, Bishwanath, all of you in here. And welcome guys, this is all about this. And our first question comes from PVH. Please show the Pro's OLED always on lock screen options, clock, time, etc. So the always on options are pretty limited on the Mate 10 Pro because it is OLED. Obviously it can take advantage of that black background while activating just isolated pixels, enabling the always on clock to pop up on screen. There's only really one thing that you can customize. Is this on or is this off? And does it display your steps? Is a pedometer counter going to be on here? And apart from that, it's pretty much on or off. But that said, it fits the bill for what I want, but it might not be as comprehensive as the Samsung Note 8, which allows you to display stuff like a full calendar. I haven't actually even checked because you don't need an OLED display to have always on options. You've got them on some LCD options. So let me check if it's on the Mate 10 regular. So app screen lock style. Screen lock max, yeah, so yeah, it isn't on the Mate 10 regular. The IPS LCD display on here won't support it, or Huawei isn't supporting it with that. Right, some of your questions. Appreciate if you have a review on battery life. I totally do have a review on battery life. Is it better than the LG V30? You mean this LG V30? I will be coming on to that very shortly because it is one of the key comparison devices for the Mate 10 Pro. Steve Bird, love your vids. Thanks Steve, much appreciated. Really impressed by the cell phone maker, says Adrenaline SA. Miguel Gonzalez, please tell us about the quality of the IPS RGBW screen in the Mate 10. Please tell us your opinions comparing with the OLED Mate 10 Pro. I will do all of that. So thank you for firing your questions in there. Quick final shout out to Henry's Farming Photography. Shout out to you. Now let's talk about these phones. Okay, so we've spoken about what's similar. You've got glass front, Gorilla Glass 5, I'm pretty sure, glass back as well, and you've got metal frames. They are high gloss metal frames, but they are rounded, and across both devices, they really blend elegantly into the glass. There's no like ridge. I don't know if any of you have used a Motorola Moto X2 Force, the fingerprint scanner, there's like a sharpness around it. Like Gareth, our phones, tablets, wearables editor, he noticed that the Sony Xperia XZ1 Compact had a sharpness. These are entirely smooth devices. They're heavy, they're not the lightest phones around. The LG V30 is significantly lighter and they actually have a similar in-hand feel. High gloss frames, metal frames and glass backs, but the 4000 milliamp battery in both of the Huawei Mate 10s mean that that weight comes with a very decent reward. So on the front of both devices you've got screen 6 inches versus 5.9 inches. Now while 5.9 inches may make you think that the Mate 10 has a smaller screen, it's actually a physically bigger screen thanks to the aspect ratio. This is a longer screen, so the distance from bottom left to top right is what dictates that 6-inch title versus 5.9 inches from bottom left to bottom right on the 16:9 inch screen versus 18:9. So that means that you have actually got a bigger screen on the smaller screen device. It does defy logic, but it's true, I assure you guys. What it also means is the fact that this is 6 inches on the Mate 10 Pro and it has full HD resolution isn't the end of the world because it's not an old school 6-inch screen. That results in a pixel density of around 402 pixels per inch on the display on here versus over 500 pixels per inch. So we've got a sharper screen and a bigger screen on the Mate 10 by contrast to a less sharp screen and a smaller screen on the Pro. So what are the benefits of getting the Pro? It's called OLED screen technology. It's the same tech that's used on the new iPhone 10 that's being launched. Samsung's had it for ages, and it creates a huge amount of depth and vibrancy and punch and pop. Well, you've also got on the Mate 10 Pro and Mate 10 HDR screen tech too. So videos and everything can take advantage of that technology, but it's the OLED that endows it with those really, really nice, deep colors. So the designs are also different as a result of those screens being different sizes. The Mate 10 Pro is just a slimmer device. It's easier to hold in the hand, and therefore it's better if you're just an everyday user who doesn't necessarily want a true phablet, whereas a nice big display on the Mate 10 just gives you a lot more real estate, but it is more imposing in the hand, so you probably will want to put it in a bag or a very big pocket. So that's the design and screen. Generally, like, these two are spot on in terms of the premium fit and finish, but in terms of ports, there are also some other key differences. USB Type-C's across both, though there is no headphone jack on the Mate 10 Pro. Instead, you'll be using your wireless or USB-C headphones. There is an infrared blaster across both of these, so they can both double up as a TV remote control, which is great. But the SIM card slot doesn't have an SD card on the Mate 10 Pro, whereas it does on the regular Mate 10. That said, base levels of storage are also different. While at the conference they did say that you would probably be seeing the Mate 10 Pro in a 64GB version, we've only ever seen the 128GB version in the wild, and that's the one that's been confirmed for the UK. And so as a result, you've got 128GB versus 64GB on here of storage. So the lack of SD card slot isn't quite a deal breaker for me. Design wise, I'd opt for the Mate 10 Pro every time, in spite of the lack of headphone jack and lack of SD card slot. Why? It's like I said, because it's a slimmer device and it feels less imposing in the hand and less imposing in the pocket. Also, that additional punch that OLED screen provides is more rewarding than the additional sharpness and clarity that you get on the Mate 10 Pro. Although the Mate 10 Pro screen gets very, very bright, as you can see, and it's also, like I said, way, way sharper and is good in its own right, but it does look more washed out. On to your questions. Right, so Svetslavov, how have you found the Kirin 970 compared to Snapdragon 835? And so if you were seeing some comparisons on this device with regards to battery, you will have seen early, like first 24-hour reviews saying online that the battery was terrible. What's Huawei doing with this 4000 milliamp power? It's going like that. Actually, one software update later completely fixed that. I'll come on to my battery talk in a little bit, but it's freaking excellent. Also worth noting, we've already got a second software update that's going to make things even better, and it hasn't even come to market yet. So if the software updates are coming this thick and fast, you really have got to say performance is so good now, it's only going to get better, and I for one am definitely impressed. What are the downsides of Bluetooth 4.2? Weird choice considering the lack of headphone jack on the Mate Pro. And that's from Dan. It's true, you can't stereo output your music, and the quality doesn't at the same level, but that's still you've still got the LDAC on here, LDAC for higher quality lossless more lossless Bluetooth audio.
Got mic problems again.
Mic problems. Sorry guys if the mic just cut out. We are working to fix this. How's this?
Is the light on?
No light on just yet. 2 shakes guys. Mic problems. Shall I unplug and plug in?
Yeah, try that.
And plug in.
No.
No joy?
No. No at all.
No joy. Okay, you guys will probably see that the microphone's not working, but you can still hear me faintly. What we're going to do is we're going to carry on this feed, and I'm going to speak up and talk at the lower quality mic that is recording. Henry's Farming Photography says RIP Mike. And then Philippe says, how is the sound quality? An ironic question given the situation right now. So Tom, our sound guy, is going to try and fix the microphone while I carry on answering some of your questions. What is screen resolution? Reno wants to know full HD versus quad. So if you talk, amazing, we're back to the microphone. So if we talk about the user interface across both of these, they both run Android 8 and they run with Emotion UI 8 over the top. Android 8 is going to mean picture-in-picture viewing. It's going to mean the latest security updates as well, and some really nice visual touches. For example, you can have lock screen notifications, which notification tray notifications that for example, showcase your full Spotify album artwork in an entire bar on your notification screen. So it's really, really nice and visual, but Emotion UI is what brings with it some really cool stuff. So for example, you can output via the USB-C at the base to an HDMI TV and have a desktop type experience. That's called EMUI desktop. Huawei's trying to take Samsung in its DeX head on. You've also got a really malleable user interface, so you can customize themes, transitions. You can also customize everything right through to your settings coloration. So as you can see, you can have it black, you can have it white. This level of customization isn't going to be for everyone. I think what's very important is at the heart of the Huawei Mate 10 and Mate 10 Pro experience, you have a stable user interface. The Kirin 970 feels very powerful, and you've got those customization options there as well. Simplists will really hate it because there's too much you can tweak. I mean, you can even do stuff that lets you take a screenshot using your knuckle, and as you can see, it doesn't even work all the time. So if you really want to play about and tweak stuff, then that's going to be where the inner geek in you is going to be like, yes, I can geek out with stuff. But actually the person who just wants to get on with stuff will be like, Huawei, you're just giving me too many options. But I personally, being a techie, really enjoyed that flexibility. I know what I like, I know what I don't like, I know what works and I know what doesn't work, and that's because I've tested it myself. So if you can relate to that kind of mentality, then you will really, really like it. If you can't, opt for something like the Pixel 2, something like the iPhone. Even an S8 is less malleable than one of these bad boys. So the design and the screen get a massive thumbs up. The screen doesn't suffer from any of the issues that the LG V30 and Google Pixel 2 XL screens suffer from. You can see we've got a V30 here, and the viewing angles aren't as fantastic. In fact, it feels less fantastic than our old V30 that we reviewed, but that might just be psychological, having really homed in on it because the Pixel 2 XL brought that issue into focus. Both the screens across the IPS Mate 10 and the Mate 10 Pro are really great across the board. They showcase the user interface off very well, and they also showcase pictures from the camera incredibly. These two have the same cameras. You've got f1.6 lenses across both, one 12 megapixel RGB, one 20 megapixel black and white. They have optical image stabilization on the RGB sensor, and as a result, everything from handheld shots right through to low light shots look better than they did before the optical image stabilization came into the Huawei range, specifically with the P9. So I'm going to talk about the picture quality in a sec, and in fact, without ruining the surprise, we did a blind video test with our camera editor Phil Hall and another member of staff, Gerald, our associate editor, and they saw pictures from a Mate 10, a Note 8, Google Pixel 2 and an iPhone 8 Plus. So all these pictures across multiple scenarios were laid in front of them and they had to pick the best one. And I'm not going to say which one won, but I am going to say that the Mate 10 definitely didn't lose. And that in itself, in a lineup like that, is impressive stuff, especially when price-wise it undercuts the bunch. Right, so let's get back to your questions. A lot of you are like, RIP microphone, RIP microphone, blah, 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 blah. So sorry about that. I'm glad the microphone's back. If it does cut out, though, please fire it into the comments, because I will alert the camera dude, Tom, who is behind the camera, being the camera dude. So, you are making regular live sessions. That's awesome. That's from Aditya. Really appreciate that and glad you like them. Do you think the dual camera concept will be continued for future smartphones? I do and I don't. I don't because the Google Pixel 2 XL is so good, but I do because the versatility that the iPhone second camera and the Mate 10 second camera gives is exceptional. I personally really love the monochrome setup in here. The monochrome pictures are better in low light handling, and if you want to see the benefits of monochrome photography, check out the 2 videos that we've got on the channel. We've done an Honor 8 camera, Honor 9 camera explained video, and a dual pixel or dual camera explained video. So if you type Tech Radar camera explained into Google or YouTube, both of those should pop up and explain the benefits of monochrome photography and indeed dual camera technology. So Bishwanath Pendi asks, is it edge to edge? Yep, it is. I love the Mate 10 Pro. Cool. Who makes the panels? I'm not 100% sure. So while manufacturers will generally advertise things as AMOLED if it's made by Samsung, because that's their brand of OLED display. It is just branding because all of them are AMOLED. But yeah, Huawei didn't specifically say AMOLED to us. As a result, by saying OLED, it means that it probably wasn't Samsung. It might not have been, but it wasn't LG either. We know that one. And also, it doesn't suffer from the viewing angle / slightly mottled look that the LG displays do suffer from. So if anyone out there who's watching this knows who the manufacturer is, has seen a teardown video, which we haven't seen yet, let us know. That would be really, really interesting. Do they both have the same cameras? Jiajun Sum says, yes, both the Mate 10 and the Mate 10 Pro have the same cameras, just like the Pixel and the Pixel 2 have. The Pixel 2 and the Pixel 2 XL have the same cameras. The only setup like that don't have the same cameras are the iPhone 8 and iPhone 8 Plus, with that second sensor missing from the iPhone 8. Hello, British Unknown. Nice to see you on here. Have you guys seen a phone with what has 4 cameras? I personally haven't seen a phone with 4 cameras. Actually, that is a lie. I have. The Zenfone AR has 3 cameras around the back and 1 camera at the front. Now, while that's not 4 cameras facing in one direction, still 4 cameras on there. So, Jonas, Mate 10 Pro versus Google Pixel 2 XL. If you care about the screen issues that are currently going around the internet, then the safe bet is always going to be the Mate 10 Pro. The Google Pixel 2 XL, I'm just going to go out and say it does have a better point and shoot camera, but if you want to play about with your picture, some of the stuff that you can do on the Mate 10 Pro is really, really great. Tom, I don't know if you can pinch in and zoom in on this. I was out in London the other day with this. I didn't even have a tripod, and I was able to just thwack it onto a surface and get some light trails. That's because it has a light painting mode on it. It has up to a 30-second exposure. Can find another. There you go, you've got a London bus in there. You know, you're not going to be able to do that with a Google Pixel 2 XL, at least not out of the box. But a shot like this does take work. If you just want a point and shoot snapper that's nice and quick to use, a Pixel 2 XL does perform a little bit better. Good with that, Tom? Amazing. Thank you for zooming in there. So Reno says an SD card slot and a headphone jack are a must in his opinion. Do you know what, like for me personally, the SD card slot isn't because of the 128 gigabytes and the memory card slot, and the headphone jack. I agree with you on that one to a degree, because like when my Bluetooth headphones run out of battery, I hate dongles. I hate dongles because they break more easily. They're just unnecessary additional wiry bits. Yeah, I really, really miss the headphone jack. That is the only thing I miss. I miss it on every device that doesn't have one. But that said, if you feel like that, then definitely the Mate 10 is an excellent option. It packs much of what makes the Mate 10 Pro really great. That 4000 milliamp battery, that Kirin 970 processor, and the exact same camera setup, as well as the EMUI desktop experience, which isn't actually that great in terms of how usable it is. It isn't quite as finessed as the Samsung DeX experience, but it's a nice to have for the mere fact you can output from your USB-C to a TV, which is something that very, very few Android phones support. In fact, the only one that comes to mind is Samsung phones. All the others have that MHL function switched off, including the Google Pixels. Right, let's see what else you guys are saying. Mate 10 Pro is very vivid and bright display. Yes, it is. Thank you, AMOLED technology. All of you guys, shout out Basil from Chris Sydenham. Thanks, Chris. We need subtitles. Hopefully the microphone's fixed now. DDR4 versus UFS 2.1. Huawei themselves refuse to give any information on the speeds. This is a great thing about live shows. It means that I can do something now like install AndroBench, across both of these devices, Android Bench. For anyone who doesn't know, with the with the Huawei P10, there was a big kerfuffle because they found that while multiple of the same phones had different RAM versions, they cost the same, and as a result, they're like, not RAM, it's memory versions, so storage versions. So you had really different read-write speeds across both. So what I'll do now, I'm going to do an Android Bench benchmark, installing the application across the Mate 10 and the Mate 10 Pro, and I'll be able to give you a storage benchmark. Let that run in the background, shouldn't take too long. And let's see, what about battery life? Again, Samsung Note 8, since the battery is bigger by 25%, can it be double the life of the Note 8? Double is pushing it a little bit, but it's definitely heaps better. So the 4000 milliamp battery inside both of these phones, from my limited experience, is better on the Mate 10 Pro than the Mate 10, but with both will easily get you through a full day. What's nice about the Mate 10 Pro is it might even get you through 2 days. If you're someone who wakes up at about 6 a.m. and goes to sleep at about 10 p.m. and is prepared to switch your phone off overnight, then you could eke 2 days out of it without being too careful with regards to your battery usage. Now, if you're an absolute power user, I found screen on time with this. We watched a 80-minute video, so that's, and it was 90 minutes, so that's an hour and a half or so, and it only took a full brightness with connectivity switched on 9% of battery. It was 91%. So you could go on a long haul plane journey and have non-stop entertainment on here at full brightness as well, saving you some battery because you will have the Wi-Fi and 4G switched off, and still make it through. Yeah, super impressive. Right, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to run Android Bench across these two, and pam, it's running. Benchmarking, are you sure you want to run all benchmarks? Yes. So put these to one side and I'll let you know the results in a second. Let's see what else you guys are saying. How is the sound quality compared to the LG V30? I realize they use different technology in sound production, but how would you rate the media experience? So the loudspeaker on the Mate 10 is the best of the three of them. The Mate 10, because it's physically bigger than the Mate 10 Pro, has more room to push that sound out and create a rounded sound. The Mate 10 Pro is nice and loud, but it just sounds a little bit tinnier as a result. And the V30 just has one bottom firing speaker, and again, as a result, sounds the worst of the lot. But that said, through the headphones, the quad DAC in the LG V30 sounds so good, and it ships with a pair of Bose tuned headphones as well. That might be region specific, so you want to check with your local supplier to know what happens with that one. But the mere fact it has a headphone jack is really great for me personally. Let's see what this is saying. So we have read-write speeds. Okay, so interestingly, the read-write speeds on the Mate 10 Pro are faster. So sequential read-write speeds on the Mate 10 Pro are 804.48 versus it's just gone in history. Okay, sequential read-write speeds 804.48 versus 759. Sequential, so that's sequential read speeds. Sequential write speeds 231 on the Mate 10 Pro versus 195. So ultimately you've got a faster storage setup on the Mate 10 Pro than you do on the regular Mate 10. Thank you guys. If you hadn't asked that question, I wouldn't have done this test. So we now know that you've got superior storage in the Mate 10 Pro. So you really do get what you pay for. Whether that will mean actual, tangible, real world differences, who's to say? But I know for myself, just psychologically knowing when I'm paying 799 euros for a phone, knowing that you're getting the best is really handy. Right, why mobile phone companies are not providing 3.5mm headphone jacks? So there are a couple of reasons. That's from Editia. One is waterproofing, water resistance. The Mate 10 Pro is IP67 water and dust resistant, whereas the regular Mate 10 isn't. Now you may say Sony's been doing this for years. Yes, they have. They've spent a lot of money waterproofing their phones. But it's much cheaper to waterproof a phone without a headphone jack, because the level of insulation that you need around the headphone jack innards, if water gets trapped in there, etc., is that bit more. So yeah, it's cheaper. It also means space saving. It means, I'm guessing, like this, for this phone, a phone this size, which is the same size as an LG V30, to have a 4000 milliamp battery versus a 3300 milliamp battery. Huawei's using every little millimeter of space on here, and indeed a headphone jack would take up that internal space. These phones also charge very quickly as well. You've got a supercharger in the box with this thing, and it charges 50% in half an hour. That's basically a full day's worth of usage in half an hour of charge. And with all of that like magic technology in there, it's going to need to come from somewhere. The space, the physical space, and it comes from the headphone jack. So how is the battery after the update? Asked Black Assassin, because Mr. Who's the Boss was very disappointing. That Mr. Who's the Boss is awesome, but that video is done prior to the final update, and that update has dropped, and my battery is stupendous, utterly stupendous, easily lasts a full day. Mate 10 Pro or Note 8. If you like sketching, the Note 8 also has a better screen of the two. The Note 8 is bigger though, it is more cumbersome. That 6.3 inch screen compared to a 6-inch screen is just maybe the tipping point for a lot of other people, but it still does a very good job of looking better than any other smartphone in the world. Where the Mate 10 Pro will come to its own is with regards to hitting that much more affordable price. So if you want a more affordable smartphone, then you'll want to opt for the Mate 10 Pro, and it'll still retain that premium look and feel and excellent cameras. The Samsung Galaxy Note camera also in default mode, point and shoot, is a little bit better, but I don't want to talk too much about that because I'm giving too much away for the blind camera test video that we filmed and that we'll be posting probably tomorrow, so stay tuned to the channel for that. So let's see what you guys are saying. Svetslavov, do you like the AI Kirin 970? So I haven't really had a huge kind of experience with regards to how the AI stacks up, but one thing that I have done is I've been able to see when you open the translation application, Translator, which is integrated with Microsoft, you can actually talk to it. So let me, for example, I can speak in English, flip that. Hello, how are you? There you go. Hello, how are you? And then it's translated it into Arabic right there, and then I can flip that around and say ازيك يا أنسة. Then it should have, let's try that again. Oh, how are you, miss? There you go. So I spoke Arabic there, it translated it to English, and I spoke English and it translated it to Arabic. So it's really smart how like that integrates, but that's actually Microsoft. We've seen translation software before. What is really going to be telling is 18 months down the line when you're using this phone, if it's going to slow down, because Huawei was saying that the key AI integration is in that it gets to know you, it gets to know your usage habits, and then it counteracts them and effectively prevents slowdown over a long time. And that's the practical real world use. So if you are watching this 18 months down the line and you've been using a Huawei Mate 10 or Mate 10 Pro for a long time, bless you Tom, then you will be able to answer that question better than me. Huawei has also integrated that AI into the camera. It can smart scene recognize mode different objects, so you can point it at a dog, point it at a cat, it'll know the difference between the two, and it will optimize the image processing accordingly. But the reality is that image processing is optimized based on what Huawei thinks you want to see. If you're getting this phone because you want the best automatic camera, then it's not going to be the best automatic camera. We've already established that. The Google Pixel 2 XL is. If you're getting this phone because you want to play with the manual modes and stuff like that, that AI doesn't even factor into it. So yeah, for me personally, it is really in the usage and the phone not slowing down over time. So I'm very optimistic, because especially with Android, that's a real issue. Let's see what else you guys are saying. Do you think that the camera object recognition works well in the real world? It does, insofar as it recognizes objects very accurately, even from a dog to a cat. So that's very cool. How does monochrome work with the f1.6 lens? It should let much more light in. Yeah, the monochrome pictures, I took a couple yesterday, and like I was just so impressed with the monochrome, and in fact like the camera in general. When you tinker with the settings, like this is a very simple shot of a dock indoors, and I mean it really is the case that you can make something so utterly benign as a dock just look really nice and dramatic by going black and white, and the lighting wasn't spectacular, and it was still able to pull a fair amount of detail from it handheld point and shoot. And don't forget, the monochrome sensor doesn't even have optical image stabilization, but it still did a really nice job. So yeah, f1.6 paired with monochrome, and the f1.6 paired with an OIS RGB sensor, it does let a lot of light in, but to the detriment of the camera, sometimes it lets too much light in. It can have some issues metering. It can overexpose in good light, especially if there are a lot of dark elements in the scenery. What it'll do is it will think those dark elements are actually shadows when actually they're just dark colors, or maybe that's what it does. But either way, as a result, it will overexpose your shot. Thanks for the info on battery usage. Cheers Tham Kai Shuyen. That might be the reason Mate 10 Pro only has full HD, since BOE does not have the ability to make QHD panel just yet. BOE is the rumored manufacturer of the Mate 10 Pro display. So yeah, they don't make QHD plus panels yet, I speculate. And if it's the case that Huawei decided to go with a BOE display that looks like this rather than an LG display that looks like this, is probably not a bad thing. So I'm going to be wrapping up soon enough, because a lot of you guys are asking similar questions around battery life, etc. And hopefully I've answered the majority of those, but I'm going to move on to all the shooting modes in the cameras, then talk about like connectivity options and gaming and stuff like that, and then wrap up with a verdict with a little bit more information on the battery across both. So the camera options are really extensive as far as what you can do. Fire up the camera, swipe in from the right, you've got photo, monochrome, video, HDR, 3D panorama, you've got night shot, light painting. If you've used a Huawei device before, then you haven't used the night shot mode, please try it out. Get this phone on a steady surface, take a picture in night mode. It's able to pull out detail that a human eye could not pull out. What it does is it takes a long exposure picture and it composites multiple variants of that picture to remove blown out areas and to keep areas that aren't blown out really nice and crisp. You've also got light painting, and if you tap through on light painting, you can see there are a whole bunch of light painting options. Let's tap through on light painting again. Tap. Oh, there you go. So I don't know if I tap through on the three dots, there you go. You've got tail light trails, light graffiti, silky water, and star tracks. So you can even do star trails. It's really nice. It spoon feeds you if you don't want to dip into your manual controls, but if you do like taking manual photos, just swipe up from the bottom and you've got a whole load of manual photo options there, ranging from manual focus, where you can do stuff like pinch out, and you access like effectively a hotspot finder, so you can see the exact level at which to focus, and then you can tap through on the magnifying glass, go back and take your shot right through to a full 30-second shutter release, which will make for, just like I said, loads of detail even in pitch black environments. The camera UI, the camera performance is the same across both, so super impressive there. The bokeh mode is nice in the respect that it is wider angle than the iPhone, than the Pixel 2, and then the Samsung Galaxy Note 8, but it isn't quite as crisp, isn't quite as detailed, and it won't necessarily get as much specific detail around the point at which the foreground and background differ, but it is nice and versatile, because unlike the others, you can retrospectively focus on a different part and you can play with a lot of effect around it. You guys were also asking, is it Daydream certified? Not yet. The Kirin 970 is currently undergoing Daydream certification, so watch this space. But either way, with a full HD display, it doesn't make me want to use Daydream as much as even the inferior quality screen, but the higher resolution screen on the Pixel. When you're talking about VR, that's when, or a Pixel 2 XL, that's when you want that really high quality pixel density. You want a lot of detail in there, because you're looking so closely and effectively the lenses are magnifying those pixels. Right, so that's the camera, really good. Maybe not the best point and shoot, but very comprehensive. The design and screen, massive thumbs up. Internal storage is either 128 gigabytes or expandable. The only variant of these two that I wouldn't recommend getting is a 64 gig Mate 10 Pro, unless you know for a fact 64 gigs will be enough for you for the duration of your usage. You've also got the same kind of storage, it's the same specs across both when it comes to connectivity. Both have Cat 18 LTE up to 1.25 gigabit download speeds, which is just going to be completely future-proofed for whatever network you're on. No network in the UK I think supports that just yet, so that's exceptional. Infrared blasters across both, USB Type-Cs, and both can output to that Emotion UI desktop I was talking about before. Like you said in your comments, Bluetooth 4.2, so not the latest version of Bluetooth, which is a bit of a shame, but for me it's definitely not a deal breaker. I do care more about the other things that it does offer, like the really great camera user interface, and indeed the mere fact it has stereo speakers. If you really do care about gaming, really do care about your speakers and want that most immersive experience possible, then you may want to opt for the Mate 10 over the Mate 10 Pro, only because it really does feel like that bit bigger, look that bit bigger, and the speakers are slightly higher quality as well. But that said, for gaming you probably want to look at the Mate 10 in the sense that that test I just did, which tested out storage speeds, Mate 10 Pro, put the Mate 10 Pro above the regular Mate 10. With 4000 mAh batteries across both, the Mate 10 Pro, like I said, lasts the full day and then some. The Mate 10 regular does too. But in our quick side-by-side tests, which aren't super conclusive at this stage with the Mate 10, the Mate 10 will run out maybe like 2-3 hours earlier in regular usage. So after our video test, the Mate 10 Pro had 91% battery, whereas the Mate 10 had 87%. So that's some food for thought. Still, both of these phones are better than any current flagship on the market. Any news regarding prices? The Mate 10 Pro is costing €799 or 749 or 799 euros, 799 euros I'm pretty sure, and that's versus 599 euros in the Mate 10 regular. If anyone has corrections on pricing, that's just from memory, and I am a fallible human being, but please fire them into the chat room. But I'm pretty sure 799 euros for the Pro, which undercuts the competition. That's around £730 here in the UK, and if you're in Australia it's like 1,400 bucks or something, around that kind of region. And in the US, just over $1,000. Still cheaper than a lot of the other flagship competition, cheaper than the Note, cheaper than the V30, cheaper than the Pixel 2, and like I said earlier, you are getting double the storage. And so as a result, these are the two best phones that Huawei has ever made. They are two of the best phones on the market right now. If you want a phablet, a big phone, then the big phone is the one for you, the Mate 10 regular. It's not going to be for everyone because the size is just going to be too overbearing, but if you want the most premium, sleekest looking phone, then it'll be the Mate 10 Pro all the way. In spite of the lack of headphone jack, in spite of the lack of SD card slot, this is a real forerunner for best phone of 2017. Let me know what you think in the comments section below. I'm not going to be able to get to any more live chat questions. This thing is wrapping up, but thank you guys for being so active and firing so many questions in there. Really hope you enjoyed it. Subscribe to Tech Radar and head over to techradar.com later today or early tomorrow, where the full review of the Mate 10 Pro will be sitting complete with picture samples and all our tests. Thank you very much for watching. Have a great day.